This is the recording of page 359 to 369. We're going to do it in two parts. So we're starting on part 3, chapter 6. Large picture there to take a look at. Rome rising and the Republic challenged. In its early years, the Roman Republic often found itself at war with other peoples in Italy. At first, these wars were largely a matter of survival for Rome. It was a hostile world, and Romans had to be ready to defend against invading tribes and rival city-states. The little republic began to win most of its wars. Filled with pride in their city-state, Roman soldiers fought with bravery. More and more people came under Roman rule. Often, the Romans granted citizenship to their defeated enemies in order to make the conquered peoples loyal to Rome. By 265 BC, Rome had conquered most of Italy south of the Po River. Roman ways and ideas spread throughout the Italian peninsula. Latin language and customs took root among conquered peoples. Roman law became the law of Rome's former enemies. On the map on page 360, identify the extent of Roman territories by 487 BC, 300 BC, and 265 BC. At first, as Roman power grew and its territories expanded, the lives of the Romans stayed pretty much the same. People still followed the old ways of discipline and hard work. Even senators took pride in being able to plow a field. Romans believed that their republic stayed strong because the tough Roman character and their respect for law. And for many years that remained true. But the continued growth of Roman power brought changes that strained the traditional way of life and the old virtues. Rome was on the rise, but as you'll see in this chapter, the rise would test the republic. The First Punic War, Rome takes to the sea. And here you can see the map that they were talking about and how it grew. Across the Mediterranean in North Africa lay another powerful city-state called Carthage. The Carthaginians had grown rich from trade. Indeed, this wealthy trading center controlled much of North Africa's Mediterranean coast, as well as the southern part of Spain, which at the time was called Hispania. Carthage boasted a powerful navy, and its ships dominated the western Mediterranean Sea. This fleet allowed Carthage to control the islands of Corsica and Sardinia, as well as the western half of Sicily. Rome's navy, on the other hand, was weak and small. Roman ships could sail certain parts of the Mediterranean only with permission of Carthage. On the map at the left, locate Rome, Carthage, Corsica, Sardinia, and Sicily. Okay, there's Rome, Corsica, Sardinia, Sicily, and Carthage. On the map on page 362, locate the areas controlled by Rome and Carthage by about 240 BC. Eventually, the Romans grew to resent Carthage's power. We've conquered most of Italy, they said, but these Carthaginians threaten us. They control the sea lanes along the coasts of North Africa and Hispania, and now they're in Sicily, right at our doorstep. They could extend their empire into Italy. At the very least, our own ships won't be able to come and go as they please, as long as Carthage dominates the sea. Our foreign trade will be at the mercy of Carthage. In 264 BC, the Romans decided to stop Carthaginian advances in Sicily and seek the rich plunder that a war with Carthage might bring. After a few years of successful fighting, the Romans fixed on the goal of driving the Carthaginians out of Sicily altogether. That was the start of a long series of fights between Rome and Carthage known as the Punic Wars. We call them the Punic Wars because the Latin word for Carthaginian was Punicus. There were 3 Punic Wars in all. They began as a quarrel over an island and turned into a life and death struggle between the Romans and the Carthaginians. The First Punic War lasted from 264 to 241 BC. Roman strength at the time was on land, in foot soldiers. The Romans had to find a way for their army to become a navy so they could fight on the sea. They went to work building and gathering as many ships as they could. They rigged their ships with an ingenious device, a long swinging gangplank with a sharp spike at the far end. The plank was wide enough for 2 men to walk side by side. During battle, a Roman ship could pull beside an enemy vessel and drop the plank so that the spike would come crashing down on the other ship's deck. Then Roman foot soldiers could rush across the gangplank and overwhelm the enemy in hand-to-hand combat. With their swinging gangplanks, the Roman fleet was a force to be reckoned with. After many battles on land and sea and frequent changes of fortune, the Romans managed to drive the Carthaginians out of Sicily. The First Punic War ended with Roman victory. Roman pride and confidence soared. They had taken on a mighty foe and won. But the fighting between the 2 rival powers had only begun. The Second Punic War. Hannibal crosses the Alps. After the First Punic War, Rome's sea power grew rapidly. Roman ships used Sicily as a base for trading. At the same time, however, the Carthaginians were growing more powerful on land. Over the next several years, the Carthaginians built a powerful army. Although they had lost Sicily, Sardinia, and Corsica, they expanded their empire in Spain. Among the Carthaginians, one man emerged as an extraordinary general. His name was Hannibal. Hannibal had been raised to despise the Romans. It is said that when he was just 9 years old, his father took him into a temple and made him swear that he would spend his life trying to destroy Rome. In 218 BC, Hannibal set out to make good on his oath, and the Second Punic War began. Hannibal was a brilliant military leader. He realized that the Romans thought of Carthage as a naval power, and so would expect an invasion by sea. He knew the Romans would be ready to defend Italy's coast against an attacking Carthaginian fleet. So Hannibal cleverly decided on a different approach. He would attack Rome from the north by land. So here, if we take a look, here's Carthage again, and here's Spain. So they'd started taking over Spain. And is Hannibal's route. So he came this way and came from the north. Starting out from the city of Carthage, Nova or New Carthage in Spain, a city his father had founded, Hannibal led 50,000 troops and 9,000 horses across the Pyrenees Mountains and over the Rhone River. He also took with him 37 elephants from North Africa. These huge lumbering beasts could trample enemy lines like tanks. As summer turned to autumn, Hannibal's army approached Italy. But before they could march south along the peninsula, the Carthaginians would have to face one of the most forbidding natural barriers on earth, the stark, rugged peaks of the mountain range called the Alps. Crossing the high, snowy Alps took 2 terrible weeks. Fierce tribesmen occupied the steep, narrow valleys and attacked at every opportunity. Often, horses and pack animals lost their footing and slid headlong over cliffs. Many more froze to death. Soldiers perished by the thousands in the snow and ice of early winter. Hannibal's men finally stumbled out of the rocky highlands to find a land of green pastures and plains. But they had paid dearly for the chance to attack from the north. Almost half the army and most of the elephants had died along the way. Hannibal was undeterred. He launched attack after attack against Roman forces, fighting with the ferocity of one who had sworn under undying hatred for the enemy. The Romans suffered many bitter defeats at his hands. One battle was so disastrous. It was said afterwards every woman in Rome wept for a dead son, husband, father, or brother. For 15 years, Hannibal raided towns all over Italy. He wiped out crops and burned orchards in an attempt to defeat Rome by destroying its agricultural resources. He left villages and whole towns in ruins. He aimed to shatter the Romans, both physically and in spirit. The Romans, however, were not easily crushed. They now turned to attack Hannibal's homeland, Carthage. Hannibal had to rush home to defend it. In 2002 BC, at a town south of Carthage called Zama, a Roman army defeated the general who had so boldly led his troops across the Alps. A year later, the Second Punic War came to an end, with Rome, once again, victorious. Hannibal himself lived several more years. At first, he tried to rebuild Carthage under Roman rule, and later he stirred up trouble for his old enemy again. In 183 BC, he died by his own hand. He took poison from a ring he carried about with him rather than surrender to the Romans one last time. Third Punic War, the destruction of Carthage. For 50 years following the Second Punic War, Carthage and Rome were at peace. By 150 BC, Carthage showed signs of growing rich and powerful again. Some Romans felt threatened. They felt they could not be secure as long as the rival city in North Africa survived. One Roman statesman known as Cato the Censor ended every speech he made, no matter what he was speaking about, with the cry, Carthago delena est. Carthage must be destroyed. And so war broke out once more. The Third Punic War lasted from 149 to 146 BC. Rome triumphed again, and the victors made sure there would be no fourth war. The Romans went from house to house, killing Carthaginians throughout the city. By the war's end, the city's population was reduced from 250,000 to 50,000. The unhappy survivors were sold into slavery. The Romans burned the city and cursed the site, decreeing that it should never be inhabited again. As word spread of what had happened to Carthage, the Romans came to be feared as brutal conquerors. North Africa became a Roman province. Now Rome controlled all the western Mediterranean and most of Spain. Meanwhile, in the east, Rome had extended its domination over Greece and much of Asia Minor. Rome was no longer a city-state fighting to fend off rivals and protect its trade routes. It was turning into a sprawling empire. More and more the Romans began to gaze at foreign territories and think to themselves, why not seize those lands as well? They had boundless confidence in themselves now. They had utterly destroyed the Carthaginians. It seemed that no one could stand in their way. All right, we'll stop the reading there and we'll pick up at learning from the Greeks.